particular questions. And thereafter, people started calling me additional math. Then we were using the book called Pure Maths by J. Blake. And there was practically no questions I could not answer. And that was how the name stick out that time.
And you
virtually all the schools in Ibadan then, even school from outside Ibadan that I've met them in one quiz competition or the other, begin to call me additional maths, add maths, and that's how it sticks to me.
And you feel sufficiently you can crack the infrastructural and development issues affecting the state?
Well, as an engineer, that's my main job. And if you look at the nature of my working experience since I graduated from the university to today, you will discover that I've been managing one project or the other, manage things before. So infrastructure is part and parcel of me. How do you develop? How do you manage? And how do you ensure that that is there? How do you ensure that it's delivered within time and schedule? That is, if you have a project in your hand.
All right, so fantastic. I will still talk more about that. You have stayed an upward of 14 years in Oman. So you are a diasporan, right?
Yes.
Good. Now we talk about diasporan and homegrown politicians. People have that conversation. In fact, it became an issue in Osun State. For the election is in how many days now?
Yes,
they call them Ajele or something. Diasporan and homegrown politicians. Should there be any conversation at all on this?
I don't think there should be any compare between the homegrown and the diaspora. And let's clarify that the so-called people you call diaspora, don't forget they are all part and parcel of this system before. I mean, you are talking about saying that I left this soil of the country, about 14 years ago. 14 years is just nothing. So it's not as if the people that you are referring to, they are angels or they are, how would I call them, they are British or they are Americans. Somebody that's schooled here, he went through his primary school, his secondary school, his university. It's been built. So all his life, because what makes you a man is your foundations.
Now, the argument is that those who are here, the homegrown politicians, understand where the shoe pinches, and so they can address the issues properly than someone who is coming from outside the country.
If they have understood the people very well, I don't think we'll be where we are today. And the difference between you, the homegrown politicians, and the guys that have gone out after they've lived their life here is the fact that you've seen what you are doing in your country, and you have also seen what other people are doing in their countries. So you can bring the experience, or you can combine those two together and see how you can involve in new things. So you cannot give what you don't have. The guys at home, they are quote unquote within whatever is within the society, but we have other societies and we have other people. So you need to learn what other people are doing in their country. The Asians, the Americans, the South Americans. How is their politics? God did not create two human beings. We are all the same. So if you get to their country and see how their infrastructure is, how they build their infrastructure, how they build their air services, their physical things, and all those things they have done, you'll be able to compare. So you need to learn from other people and bring it back home.
Our politicians go out, they see some of these things and developments out there. How come they find it difficult to replicate this development here in Nigeria?
There's a between when you see something, when you visit, then from when you are living there. When you are living with people who have developed the same thing, you'll be able to ask the questions. How have you developed this? And you are part and parcel of, maybe for a shorter time, but that time you have been there, you know how they are doing it. But if you just go and visit, for instance, you just go and visit United Kingdom and you see the way they construct the road, who are you going to ask questions? But the guy that has gone there maybe for about, 5 years or 10 years and he come back home, he'll be able to say yes. Maybe one of his friends, maybe one of the so-called parliamentary people there, they are his friends. He'll be able to find out what have they done and how they've been doing it. So it's always good to know in details what those people have done and how they achieved that.
All right, fantastic.
So that's in between us and the homegrown.
Let me quote you here. Okay, you said it is time for us to shift away from the current state of mediocrity and experience the true definition of progressive governance. What do you mean by this?
So what is mediocrity? That's the first question. And mediocrity means a state of being a state of somebody being a mediocre. So if you are mediocre, that is you are not here or there. You are an average person. So we have to move from average to the best. And that's why I say we have to progressive governance. And progressive governance looks at the future, not the present. It looks at the thing that you are going to see, because when you say something is progressive, it means you are developing. You are looking at your future. You are not looking at your present only. But a government that is not thinking of how you are going to develop the future is not a government. Because we'll continue to remain the same way where we are.
What is your assessment of the present administration in your state?
Well, I will not say they've not done their best. They've done the best they can do, but you cannot give what you don't have. In terms of security, I would say fairly, because we all know how Ibadan especially used to be in terms of Togri and Brigandry. And today, we don't have such things again. Fairly, I can say in security, they've done very well.
And road construction?
In road construction, I'll give them 35%. 35% in the sense that it's only within Ibadan that you could see there is substantial improvement in road infrastructures. However, if you move to places like the interlink road between Ibadan to Gomasho to Oyo, from Oyo from Ibadan to Shaki, Isheyin, Igboho, Tede, Shepeteri, Iruwa, Lanlate, those roads you can't drive them. The road that's supposed to take you about 30 minutes will take you about 2-3 hours. So you cannot score them average in road constructions.
All right. You like the late sage, Awolowo?
Yes.
Obafemi Awolowo. You like him very well?
Yes.
Did you meet him at any point in time?
Well, I did not meet him one-to-one, but at least it was alive when I was in when it was alive when I was a beneficiary of the free primary education.
You love his ideals.
Without him, I would not be here where I am today.
All right, we'll talk more on that when we get back from this break. It's CICERO on 32 FM 94.9. Please don't go away.
CICERO.
Mama, Dettol soap na 100 naira now.
Buy Dettol soap, Ogbonge protection for 100 naira.
Hello there. Can I have your attention, please? Thank you. Now, have you been struggling and in doubt about what to do to make your business and service reach the right audience? Not to worry, help is here. Give your business just the advantage it needs. Call our commercial department today and let's talk about how to make your business get to your target audience. Call Sheson on 0818-841-8137. Sheon on 0703-517-5719. Or Bisola on 0817-765-3578. We look forward to hearing from you.
32 FM 94.9.
CICERO.
All right, welcome back. The program is CICERO. My guest is Engineer Oyedele Alao. Alao, he also is vying for the seat of the governorship, or the governor of the state come 2019. Well, it's still very much here. Welcome back once again, Engineer.
Thank you very much, presenter.
All right, your party,
yes.
AD, you chose, Alliance for Democracy, though has a long history, does not appear popular lately. How do you see your chances of winning against the ruling party and even the PDP?
Yes, if you recall that far back in 1999, after, when we started the Third Republic, Alliance for Democracy was the party of choice. And We have virtually in all the states. When I say all the states, I mean within the Western region. After the 8 years, it was unfortunate some other things happened, and we moved from Alliance for Democracy. There was a crisis, and people moved from Alliance for Democracy to AC to ACN. And about 4 years ago, there are people of strange bedfellows that came together when there are crises here and there within the country. It's true, the Alliance for Democracy must have been in coma for some period. But since last year, we're out of that coma.
How do you mean? How did that happen?
Well, we're in today's politics, a lot of things do happen. The so-called leaders within the party, I think for one reason or the other, because they want to be at the, how will I say, they want to be part and parcel of the national government. And for that reason, they decided to form alliances with people of strange bedfellows.
Don't they have their ideology in place anymore?
Well, I think what they have done that time is they were thinking that they will be able to carry the ideology on with the other groups who do not believe in the ideology. They believe that on getting to governance, whatever ideology they have, which are ideologies of the progressive, as far back as 55 as Action Group and UPN, that they will be able to carry that ideology along. Unfortunately, we have all seen what has happened in the last 4 years. That ideology, it has not manifested in any way. And that is the programs of the progressive government, which include free primary, the free health educations, the improvements in agriculture, and the industrializations of the society. Because what you have today, a situation whereby we have unemployment everywhere, is created by the fact that we barely have no industries that could sustain the armies of youth that we are turning out on a yearly basis.
Though we used to have the industries, though, anyway.
Yes.
Where have they gone to? Well, this is the question we should ask. Now, how are you going to do that? Well, a question for you to answer, maybe when we get that. In your state,
yes,
there appears to be a boundary against professionals in politics. You must have been in politics, in some capacity before you can ever be trusted with the highest office in the state. Don't you consider this a barrier?
I don't see it as a barrier. I think what the state need now is not core politicians. The state need people who are experienced in understanding the cost of running the governance. Most of the people you call politicians, they may know the people, but what is the cost of running a government?
Are you a politician?
I will not call myself a full-blown politician, though as far back as I was in students' union when I was in university, or as far back as when I was in the University of Lagos, I was in student unionism, right from my year 2 till I left university. And even 4 years after university. I think I stopped joining university, student unionism, the day the current Showore was stabbed on campus.
All right. So the experience you have in politics is that of the one you have back in the day
thereafter,
at the university.
Thereafter.
Now, I'm asking the question here. Is that what you have? The experience you have in politics is just
beyond that. Beyond that. And that's thereafter.
Okay.
When I was in Lagos in 1999, when they started the Alliance for Democracy, virtually all the people who are working in Lagos, because I was oscillating between Lagos and Warri, and my house was in Lagos. So I was part and parcel of the campaign team of the then Alliance for Democracy. I did not struggle to have appointments at that time because I wanted to develop my professional career. And that was why I was never interested in having any positions. If not, I could have secured myself some at that time. But As a civil engineer and as a professional, if you don't develop your career, you will not be able to talk among your peers.
All right.
And of what use? You have
okay.
spent 5 years in the university.
All right.
Do you want to treat
You are a successful businessman. You seem, comfortable. At least, why are you coming out for the governorship seat? Why not, attempting the State House of Assembly or some other political office that is not as elevated as that of the governor?
Coming out for position is an individual. It's an individual position. It depends on individual. I can decide to say, okay, I want to come out for member of House of Assembly. I want to come out for governorship. I may even say I want to come out for presidency. It's a personal freedom. It's a personal choice. And I believe I can contribute more meaningfully as a governor of this state more than being a member of the House of Assembly.
And the capacity to achieve this.
Yes.
I mean, it takes some capacity to man that office of the governorship or the governor.
Yes. In terms of capacity, I believe I got the experience, I've got the intellect, and I've got the courage and the skill to manage the office of the governors of any state.
Now, between technocrats and the real politicians, which we talked about the other time, most often when you look at it, technocrats don't usually perform in politics. How do you see this?
Well, to the best of my knowledge, I've seen technocrats who have also performed very well. I mean, the likes of Donald Duke was a technocrat in those days, and we all seen what he did when he was in Akwa Ibom. So there are also other people in Cross River. Sorry, there are some other people that are technocrats that have also performed in their state. It's not in all cases. In fact, I believe a technocrat should be able to do more. If you are actually a technocrat, that you have gone through, you've worked in a system or you work in a company whereby you manage not only people, but you manage what you call money.
The kind of, the number of persons now coming out to contest for the seat of the governor of the state, it has never been this much in the history of elections in this particular state, as a matter of fact. And when we think about it, this, fine gentlemen and the big pocket that they have or deep pocket that they have, in your situation, are you trying to fund your private practice through governance? Why are you coming out this time around to also contest?
Well, the last 3-4 years ago, when the current governor was there, or when he was contesting again, I did ask myself whether it was the right time to contest or not. But I believe at that point in time that it was not the right time, because you have to evaluate your potential. You have to evaluate whatever resources that you have that you can use when it comes to elections. Because I don't believe in godfatherism. And up to today, I'm not sponsored by any godfather.
You don't have a godfather?
I do not have, and I don't believe in it. Because that has always been the politics of most of our candidatures. And I believe if we can move away from godfatherism and we can sell ourselves to the society, just like I'm talking to the society today, that this is what I believe I can do. I've got the skill, the experience, not only within the Nigeria or outside the soil of this country. Because you have to combine experience together to be able to manage.
I asked you the other time if you liked the man Awolowo, Obafemi Awolowo, and you said yes. I read up somewhere where you said you build on Awolowo's legacies if elected, as a matter of fact. What are these legacies that you have seen and you really admire?
And this legacy is just, we all know what the legacies are. The free primary education, the free health services, the farming settlement that were put together in those days. Unfortunately, after, I think there was a system where they call opticoms in those days that Chief Awolowo put together to assist farmers in their pursuit, in their activities, which yielded a lot of money to all the farmers, not to the farmers and even to the state. So most of these things that they have done in the time past that were beneficial to the society. Because a majority of those people would not have been able to be where they are today if not those legacies. And I'm here today because of that free primary education. And a lot of Nigerians, when I say Nigerians, I'm talking about people within the Western region. They were able to achieve, or where they are where they are today because of free primary education.
We've had many politicians also who hide under Awoism, yet perform abysmally low. We've seen that around also.
Yes, they may have performed low because you asked me a question before about the homegrown politicians and our brothers are like me who have stayed there before and have traveled outside the country. So when you have traveled outside the country before, you've walked, because there are people that have traveled outside the country. But what did they do? They were washing bodies, dead bodies, and taxi driving.
It could be a way to survive for them.
Yes, that's the wages. But it's different from a Nigerian that travel abroad, that is working within the government and see how the other government are being run, and they are running productively, and the society are enjoying the benefits of the governance. So you can't compare those two together.
What I'm saying is politicians love soundbite. They love slogans and all that.
Exactly.
Politicians hide under Awoism, and yet when they get to office, you see them, and you wonder what is happening. In fact, they try to wear his kind of cap and his kind of glasses, and yet
they were trying to deceive the society. And most of the so-called Awoists, which party do they belong to? You cannot go to a party that its manifesto is not in line with our ideology, and you say you are going to achieve, you are going to effect the legacies of Chief Awolowo. Take, for instance, PDP. I heard yesterday, I don't want to mention anybody's name, so I'm going to do free primary education. I'm going to do free health services. I'm going to do this. But when you look at his party manifesto, it's not in line with what he's saying. So how is he going to actualize that? So whatever you are doing or whatever you are saying must be in consonance with your party manifestos. And our party manifesto has never it still remains the same thing that we've been having as far back as Action Group to UPN to AD. So we have not debated in any form.
As a politician, what is your ideology?
Well, my ideology is still in line with Chief Awolowo's ideology of socialist idea, that is helping the society and ensuring that the society achieve good governance.
You spoke about free education the other time. Let's look at the education, sector in the state at the moment. How can we, you also seem to have something for education.
Yes.
We shall give kudos to Chief Femi Awolowo the other time. Are you impressed with the current state of education in your state?
Well, I will not say I'm impressed because, like I said in one of the radio programs, the last 3 or 4 WASC results is nothing to write him about. And the reason being that the foundations is faulty. And when the foundation is faulty, there's no much you can achieve. And why do I say the foundation is faulty? If you go around the primary school that we have today, a situation whereby a young student that was supposed to be learning under a conducive environment is learning under a school that barely has no roof. So how do you expect that kind of child to have quality education?
How can we bring back the glory years in the education sector?
Yes, what we can do is one of the things that we put in our part of our program. We've seen that there are 2,370, about 2,000 plus, let's say 2,400 primary schools. Those primary schools need to be rebuilt because 80% of them, we have gone around most of the primary schools in Oyo State, and we've seen that practically 80% of them are in deplorable conditions.
Now, is it about rebuilding structures, really, if you look at it?
You have to, first of all, the infrastructure is very important because if the infrastructure is not adequate, the facilities are not adequate, then what are you talking about?
Are you saying this is solely responsible for the poor performance of our students year in, year out in WAEC?
If you look
at
at
the moment, the position is
if
26th.
you weigh it, it's like you want to study. You are in the university before. You want to study for exam, and the place where you are going to study is very, very hot. It's raining. How are you going to study? So if you have not solved the primary problem, then whatever you're going to put in place, it's not going to work. People are talking about, the teachers are not well paid. Yes, I agree, the teachers are not well paid. Or the teachers are not of good standard. Yes, I agree, they are not of good standard. But we can fix all those. So if you have fixed the teachers, you fix the salary, but you do not fix the primary thing. So how do you ensure that? How do you ensure that they will be able to learn? Because the environment they are learning is not conducive.
So how can you achieve, reconstruction or reconstructing the buildings and all that, putting infrastructure in place for students with limited resources? That is what we hear.
Yeah, we have limited resources agreed, but what percentage of your annual budget do you want to spend on education? The current government, for 2018, for instance, allocated about 2% of the total budget for the state for education. You go to other countries of the world, the minimum you will see is 10%. So allocating about 15% to 25% of budget to education will go a long way in providing free education, fixing the infrastructures. Based on my computations, I know we've got about 900, let's say a million primary school students. And the moment you start the free primary education, there will be explosion, there will be maybe 10% or 20% increase in enrollment.
Okay.
So if you put all those into considerations, you're probably going to spend about roughly 30 to 40 billion naira for the first 2 years. And after the first 2 years, it will come down. However, you can say, how are we going to achieve that? One of the things that we believe we are going to do is to invite corporate bodies within this country and outside this country to assist. We will not ask them to give us any amount of money, but we will do in such a way that whoever wants to assist, will give him the area and we'll ask him to deliver that. Don't give us money.
The idea of feeding students to also impact on enrollment in our schools. What do you say about it?
I don't think I will not subscribe to feeding the student at school, because I believe the parents can afford to feed their children.
Some parents cannot.
Yes, they cannot, because they do not provide the environment for their parents to survive.
How do you see, what do you make of this particular trend now, where state governors now almost boast about payment of workers' salaries? Salaries are not paid as and when due any longer.
Well, the reason being that, one, they don't have enough, because I've seen the budget in the last 7 years. It's not in all states. I know some states cannot afford, some states can afford to pay it.
But most of the states.
And when you look at their budget, I've looked at Oyo State budget and I looked at the IGR. Oyo State have tried a little bit. They've tried their best. They've increased the IGR of this state from I think about 1.5 to about 20 billion naira per annum. I give kudos to them on that. And they can do more than that.
No.
But at the same time, I don't subscribe to squeezing the blood out of the society.
No.
But there are
you
places
spoke about IGR just now,
yes,
internally generated revenue,
yes,
which is a good one. So I'm just going to quickly take you up on that.
Yes.
Many times when we talk about improving on our IGR, we think of taxing the people the more. Statistics show that 2/3 of businesses operating in Nigeria and other developing economies are informal, mainly because for almost any business, operating informally has its upsides. Hiding revenues or paying staff in cash are easy ways of cutting the tax bill, avoiding regulations, allow such businesses to appropriate more profit. Now, how can we capture the informal sector? People make a lot of money in that particular sector. I mean, how can we capture the informal sector to, achieve something decent for our GDP?
And those are the things that we wanted to, the area we believe we can generate more fund. Let's take a look, for instance, the market women. We may have poor enumerations, but one of the things that we need to do is to establish data whereby you capture the informal sectors, the market women, the artisans, the National Union of Road Transport Workers, and some other people. So once you capture the data, but there's one thing you need to do is the environment that they are working out. Also, you need to change the environment. Let's take, for instance, a market. Let's take, for instance, a Dugbe market. How do you expect somebody that is a market that is not properly laid out, or a market that there are no services provided by the government? How do you encourage those people to pay for service to pay for services? So one of the fundamental things I believe that we need to put in place is to ensure that we provide services first to that people. When you provide services, people will on their own be eager to pay. A mechanic that is that has a workshop, and you've assisted that kind of mechanic to secure equipment which is going to use.
How?
We can do that because that is what operates in the Middle East. Apparently, I'm from the Middle East. That operates in Malaysia. I've seen it in Malaysia and I see it in Indonesia, whereby the government assists in one way or the other to secure equipment on loan basis for a period of 10 to 15 years to be paid. So when you see such a thing, I mean, a mechanic that the government have assisted to secure such equipment, he knows he has to pay tax. In fact, because you've assisted him to secure that, it means whatever that is making, you are taking tax and is also paying his loan gradually.
All right. You said you've seen the budgets of the state.
Yes.
Okay. And how much can this do in terms of infrastructural development of the state? How well can this deliver?
Okay. In the last 7 years, the state government has spent, I think they spent an average of about $400 million on infrastructures. I think the least they ever spent was about $260 million. In order to achieve your aim, you have to look at the costing. When you look at the costing aspect of your project, like somebody was saying something yesterday. Oh, our bridge that they built cost much. A bridge that cost $2 million outside the sub Nigeria should not cost $2 million there. Why? Because the labor part outside the sub of this country, maybe it's about 30%. So if labor part is 30%, Nigerian part should be about 10%. So the costing matters a lot.
How can Oyo State be industrialized? Now, before we move away from the IJR and all that, can we pay the minimum wage that is being advocated by NLC now with what we have as current?
To be honest with you, based on what I've seen the budget from 2010 to today, the highest budget we ever had was $1.13 billion based on the exchange rate of that period. The state cannot afford it unless that the federal government increase the allocation to cope with that increase.
If the allocation is not increased, because what we have is states go capping on to the federal government at the end of the month. If FAAC does not sit, if money is not coming from the federal government, what becomes of these states? That's what we are saying. How can states generate money? We are not talking about the problems. What can we do? What can be done? That is why we are here.
Yes. If the federal allocation is not coming, initially it's going to be very, very tough. But if we look inwardly, like we are saying before, paying your tax, increasing the revenue base.
How?
Well, when you say how,
while you were trying to answer the other time, you spoke about providing an enabling environment.
Yes.
Which will also take something. So how can we, some time ago, when Lagos State could not access allocation from the federal government, that was political though, Lagos had to think outside of the box. And today, Lagos is good for it.
Yes.
How can Oyo State also?
Yes. So Lagos, you said they thought out of box. And what did they do? Income tax, they ensure that every person in Lagos, they pay their tax. They also ensure that there are levies here and there. Road transport worker, signage, tenement rates. There are a couple of things that they put together. And all those things put together was assisted Lagos. And don't forget also, Lagos has a lot of industry. And those industries have not been paying their taxes all along. So what Lagos did was to enumerate all the industrial sector, the manufacturing sector, and ensure they are paid their tax, the houses pay their tenement rate, and individuals who are supposed to have been paid, who have not been paying before, they started paying.
Now,
so based on that, they were able to get enough money.
Oyo State has the largest arable land in the whole of West Africa.
That's true.
Let's talk about agriculture now. Other than the usual rhetorics, and we are yet to government coming to say that we'll do this, we'll do that in the agricultural sector. We are yet to fully exploit this particular sector.
Yes.
We can provide food to the rest of the country, and not just the country, the rest of Africa.
Yes.
So what are we doing in agriculture?
In agriculture, I think if you looked around the whole of Oyo State, the research institutes who are agricultural-based institutes, they are all within Oyo State. IITA, Cocoa Research Institute of Nigeria, NIHOT, and some other ones. But how have we used them? We've not been engaging this so-called research institute to assist in coming out with seedlings that are in line with our whatever with whatever that we have, the soil. Because whatever that you are going to produce, the seedling has to be in line with the quality of the soil. So when you give the right seedling to the farmers, they were able to cultivate and produce enough for the society and society outside this estate.
All right, the program is CICERO. We're going to break now. When we return, I'll open the phone lines for you to join the conversation in the studio. I'll still touch on some areas in the studio before the close of the conversation this morning. Please don't go away. It's CICERO.
CICERO.
Cousin, are you ready for me this morning?
Yes, ma'am.
Your time starts now. Egg gives us energy to work and play. True or false?
True.
Carbohydrate provides the body with its main source of energy. True or false?
True.
The red color in the traffic lights tells us to go. True or false?
False.
This is the way we wash our face.
Are you a kid between ages 5 and 11? The right place to get educated and have some fun is here on the Smart Kids Show with Auntie Yellow. The 32 FM Smart Kids Show with Auntie Yellow comes up 7 a.m. Mondays through Saturdays. Proudly sponsored by Honeywell Noodles.
Honeywell Noodles.
CICERO.
All right, welcome back. The program is CICERO on 32 FM 94.9. Well, welcome back to the conversation. I still have my guest with me in the studio, engineer Hakeem Alao, with me on the program. Now we'll open the phone line for you to join the conversation, ask a question, you also make contribution via 0705 500949, 0809 7949 for your SMS, 0906 2009-49. Do not forget the poser of the day in Nigeria. Some politicians refuse to honor political party debate. What do you see about politicians who run away from political debate? That is the poser for today. We'd like to have your we have a contribution or take on that. All right, engineer, back to the conversation. We spoke about agric and education. Let's move to how can we industrialize Oyo State? This is your own forte.
You will recall I mentioned something about our agricultural area. One of the things that we intend to do is to have 3 industrial hubs. And why do you want to create industrial hub? We want to create industrial hub to look at agro-processing industry. But if you create industry in each of those senatorial districts, that will process whatever they are producing, because the agri-base that we are talking about is not just to produce food that our people will eat, but to produce things that we are going to process. So we are talking about industrial-based agricultural products. So without doing that,
please go on.
So we are looking at establishing industry that will be using whatever that our farmers are cultivating or are producing. So by so doing, you will increase the economy of the state. The farmers will have enough money, and the state industrial base will increase. Not just that, you're also going to increase the manufacturing sectors. But our plan, like I said earlier, is to have this industrial base power by the state government.
Have you gone around the local governments that we have in the state?
I've gone around all the 33 local governments. I've traveled to each of the local governments.
You've seen the teeth and challenges,
yes,
that they go through.
And that one of the major things, like I said, is the road to each of those local governments.
Are we saying the state is too big to govern?
No. We are just 7 million people. And out of that 7 million people, 50% of the 7 million lives in Ibadan and environs.
Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning. Hello, you're on. Good morning. Okay, please can call back again on the program 0705 5949 0809 7949 to join the conversation in the studio. My guest is still very much here, engineer Alao, on the program. We are still live on YouTube. This conversation is live on YouTube, 32FM 949. Hello, good morning. Hello. Oh, the line dropped again. 0705 5949 0809 7949. Now, I want to ask you something, engineer Alao here. In Nigeria,
yes,
people have this mentality of the conquered. They consider it a privilege to be given what is theirs by right. How did this aberration become a norm among us?
Can you please clarify for that?
Fantastic.
Yes.
Now, what you spoke about good governance for the people, that is what we talk about for the people.
Yes.
And yet, when this is not coming, and when we see this, people don't even know that this is their right any longer. They feel it's just one handout from the politician who is occupying that particular office. How did we get to this state?
Well, we got to this state because of, like you said before, we have been talking about good governance. It's because of bad governance and mistrust. You promised electorate you are going to deliver dividends of democracy, and that dividends is not there. So if you don't deliver the dividends of democracy as you promise, then people don't trust you again. So whatever right that people have, the society don't believe, in fact, they don't believe that they have any right again.
But how can we restore governance to the people?
Well, it's not as easy as possible.
Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning to you, sir.
Yeah, my name is Femi, calling from Ghana.
All right, go on, Femi.
I've been listening to your conversation with the governorship aspirant. Yeah, the only question I just want to ask is, these aspirants or governorship or whatever, why is it that they always like to sugarcoat the amount for why they are aspiring for all this cost? Because now when you get the only song all of them will be singing is there's no money. The past government has bastardized, they have done this, they have done that. Now, were they aware that there's no money before they say they want to go into this governorship of the thing? And what do they have? I'm not talking of the manifesto, what they have. Number of them several years, they have several manifesto, very suitable one. But inability to execute all these promises, all these theories.
Thank you, Femi.
In whatever they are telling us.
Thank you.
Now, this particular aspirant, I'm sorry, in what area has he ever begged us? We that were living in Ibadan, in Oyo State, what are those things that has he ever put in place?
All right. Thank you, Femi, for your contribution there.
Yes, just like he has mentioned, a lot of people said they will promise heaven and earth, and when they get there, they will say there is no money. I'm aware of how much the state government has spent, or the budget of the state in the last 7 years. Like I earlier said, the highest that we ever had was in 2013, when we have about 2014, when we have $1.13 billion allocated to your state. I'm also aware of the sectorial allocations for the last 7 years. So I'm not new to that. It's the major problem that most of those people you are mentioning, because they don't have the data on their hand. So on reaching there, they exclaim, "Oh, we don't have money." I know we don't have money, and that's one of the things that I've been working on. How do we generate funds to ensure that we run the governance, to ensure that whatever program that we say we are going to run, we will be able to fulfill our promises to the electorate.
0705 500949, 0809 7949. In Nigeria, people look at government in a very abstract manner. Like it's their government, it is not our own. And so when they craft questions, even for public office holders, you can see the distrust, you can see, the anger in the way they even ask them questions. How can we redeem this?
To take century, I will not deceive you, because to be honest with you, I've been in so many platforms also where you see the venom people spit out. People are not happy with the government. Some people also don't see themselves as part of the government. I want people that are in governance. We are not part of the government. But
the only time you get to see a politician is when they are campaigning, even though that is yet to start now. But that is the only time the moment they get into office, they even change their line, they change offices, they move away from their immediate environment.
That's what happened in Nigeria. But
you can't
that's not
talk to them. Yes. You can ask them questions.
That's the problem. That's not what happened in other countries of the world. I remember even just here, I wanted to drive myself, and no, engineer, you cannot drive yourself here. They will think you don't have money. They will think you don't have this, and that's our perception. Tanzanian president yesterday boarded a commercial flight. If a governor wants to board a commercial flight in Nigeria, no, or a president, no, you cannot do that. No, they will be looking down on us.
What do you call that?
It's our mentality. It's unfortunate that it's like that, but it will take us ages to move from where we are today.
And it is retarding our growth.
Exactly, because we are not thinking outside our head. We seem to. I think the bad governance has impacted so much on our thinking faculty that we don't see anything good in people, or we don't see anything good in ourselves again. It's unfortunate.
There's an increased advocacy, particularly in your state, for a generational shift, and you are captured in this particular gap. You are in your early 50s. What can the youths do differently as we go on the program?
Well, if you looked at the people that were in governance before...
This will go through before we go. Hello, good morning.
Yeah, hello. Yeah, good morning, sir.
Yes, sir. Please make it snappy.
Okay, yeah. So I salute your colleague engineer for coming on this program. But it sounds so sweet, but we don't know how sweet it will be when it actually comes.
All right. Thank you. It's also talking about sugar-coated speeches of the politicians. Well, if you eventually get a chance, I was trying to say there. Well, let's see. So, what would the youths do differently as we go on the program, engineer?
I think if you look back to pre-1999, 1979, look at the crop of people that have been ruling the country. Virtually all of them are below 50. It was in recent times that you have that generational shift whereby people of elderly age are coming to governance. And we've seen all the things that is in the country today were done by people that they were below 40 years of age. So if you bring them back, I believe they have the energy, they have the strength, they have the system to be able to govern. Look for instance, France.
Thank you very much, Engineer Oyedele Alao, for coming on CICERO this morning. Because of our time, I have to say my bye on the program this morning. It's CICERO. I am Olutayo Ogunade. You join us again on Monday, next week Monday, on another edition. Once again, let's all join hands and make Nigeria a better place. Thank you.
The fastest growing radio station in the Southwest. In the Southwest. 32 FM 94.9.
Show me your 32. Put a smile on your face, no matter condition.
Filling the air with laughter. 32 FM 94.9.
Why are you home this early and wearing such a long face?
I had a terrible day at work.
What happened?
I lost all my colleagues today.
Lord of Jesus! How did it happen?
There was a fire outbreak down the tunnel and everybody died.
My God!
My God.
What a pity! Darling, I hope you're okay.
I'm okay.
Thank God you're alive.
Thank God.
But how did you make it out?
Darling, it must have been God's work.
Yeah?
My stomach was upsetting me, so I took a break to ease myself from the toilet.
Miracle worker.
Thank God.
Father, I worship you.
Thank God.
I thank you.
Thank God.
I'm happy you are alive. How would we have survived if you were to be dead by now? I pity those families who lost their husbands. How will they live now?
My dear, it's a pity. It's a pity. But United Nations has decided to give the families of the deceased $10 million each.
What? 10 million what? Oni, you don't do well at all. You didn't do well now.
How?
Why are you always absent when God wants to bless us,
Filling the air with laughter. 32 FM 94.9.
I don't work, I don't take. 32 FM. Otawanyo. Plenty programs to sing pepper. We just take back to your city. 94.9. Àwa nìyẹn kò sólókìtì bí ìjímèrè láyé ń gbé.
32 FM 94.9.
Máa wò mí bí mo ṣe fẹ́ yín. Mo ń bọ́ 32 FM.
32 FM 94.9.
ẹṣin kì í jẹ́ kẹ́sìn ó ṣubú. Ìrù ẹṣin kì í wé mẹ́sìn lọ́rùn. Ìyá ẹni, bàbá ẹni kì í jójó tì ní. Ẹ̀yin olólùfẹ́ ètò yìí, mo mọ̀ wípé ẹ ní jẹ́ kójú ó tì mí. Èmi náà mi ò ní jẹ́ kójú ó tì yín. Lọ́nà orí kó shooting star tilẹ̀ Ìbàdàn yẹn o. Orí kó wọn yọ lọ́wọ́ ikú òjijì. Asọ́lé shooting stars. Ó bá àánú Ọlọ́run pàdé. Ó kú tán díẹ̀ ló kù. Yẹ̀kínì lórúkọ Asọ́lé shooting star. Yẹ̀kínì yẹkú o. Yẹ̀kínì yẹkú ní pápá àṣẹrí Adámọ̀sìngbà lánàá. Òye kábi káúlà kábi kúrò lórí mi. Eruku jájà kó máa jálé àwọn ọ̀tá mi lórí. Lánàá ìròyìn tá a tún gbọ́.